And welcome, everybody. Yeah, our topic today is how low-code is going to help drive digital transformation and also increase operational excellence within enterprises. My name is Eric Hale. I'm Director of Sales Enablement here at Creatio, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Nandish Madhapati, who works with our Enterprise Solutions Group. So we're going to be walking you through a quick agenda here. We're going to look at the state of low-code here in 2021 and how low-code is going to help drive organizations, with next level business value. We've seen tremendous things happen over the last, year plus, and low-code really has helped organizations recognize a real time to value and business value with their organizations. We'll share a brief customer case that's a live example. And we'll also show you a very brief demonstration. As we move through the presentation, please feel free to put your questions in the chat session, and we're going to open it up to Q&A at the end, and we'll do our best to get to everybody's questions. So just by way of introduction to Creatio, Creatio is a global organization. We're headquartered here in Boston, Massachusetts in the United States. But we have a global presence with 5 offices around the world, as well as a very robust partner network consisting of over 700 system integrators and system integrators and consultants that help us reach into 110 different countries worldwide. Both the company and the platform have been highly recognized by leading industry analysts, including being named to 5 Gartner Magic Quadrants as well as 7 Forrester Waves. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the presentation. But our mantra here at Creatio is to help companies accelerate by providing them with the tools necessary to automate their business ideas faster and easier. Excellent. So let's move into the presentation, and again, let's have a look at low-code in the year 2021 here, how it's reshaped everything that we're doing. And if we look at low-code in organizations, given the state of things here in the world, pressure increases on organizations to become more nimble, more efficient. And the adoption of low-code platforms also increases, right? So as that demand for nimble, efficient applications grow, adoption of low-code platforms also increases. If we look at the slide, according to Forrester, in 2021, 75% of development shops will adopt low-code technologies. And although low-code isn't new, right? Application development isn't new. The combination of these digital disruptions, the demand for automated solutions, and we look at it from the perspective of composable business solutions as well. There's a demand for that, and it's really led to rising demand for low-code platforms. And it's those enterprises that are going to embrace low-code technologies and digital process automation that are going to consistently outpace organizations that rely on traditional development methods. So if we look at the increased demand for custom applications in support of digital transformation efforts, it's really sparked the emergence of what we would call citizen developers outside of the IT department, which really speaks to the benefits of low-code. So if we look, Gartner research says that an average of 41% of employees outside of IT or citizen developers, customize or build data or technology solutions. They also predict that half of low-code clients will come from the business buyers that are outside of IT organizations by 2025. I'd be interested to hear your feedback as we move through this if your organization is adopting low-code technologies. And where are you in that process? Are you in the beginning stage, middle stage, advanced stage? It would be great to hear feedback from the audience on where you are in that journey. So, businesses face demands to accomplish several things. They have to grow revenue, create brand awareness, and also maintain the best experiences for their customers. And they're going to require tools that are necessary to accomplish this on an ongoing basis. But the problem is that IT often lacks the resources to deliver that. They are understaffed, they're underfunded. They may have complex environments that are going to delay their innovations. So we see that project backlogs, keep growing while the number of deliverables keep shrinking. And that's really where the power of a low-code platform can help. And if we look at, SaaS as a whole, right, most SaaS vendors are already providing capabilities that incorporate low-code development technology. As SaaS continues to grow, low-code application platforms and process automation tools should see like-for-like growth as both continue down that path. So the need for business-driven automation will be one of the top 3 drivers for low-code adoption through 2022. And organizations will need to embrace low-code to support application innovation and integration. And if we think about, what, the global pandemic is exposed, right? It exposed the fact that there are a lot of broken processes within organizations. People had to adapt rapidly. We had a shift in work environments, right? No longer were people going to the office. Hopefully we're slowly getting back to that, but remote work is going to remain, a go-forward strategy for many enterprise organizations. So really, low-code has come to the rescue for remote working employees. The demand for digital-first products has accelerated, as we saw, and it's my opinion that I don't think that's going to just slow down. We've been able to remain productive throughout this time, and organizations are, increasingly looking for ways to improve the remote work experience. So they really need to kind of modernize the tools, or they're going to get left behind their competitors that are going to outpace them. So low-code and no-code technologies have enabled organizations to kind of keep up with that frantic pace of change. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Nandish to talk a little bit about the business value you can derive out of low-code. Nandish, you have the tools.
Excellent. Thanks, Eric. Actually, it is very fascinating to see that there is a trend going towards low-code, and I've been personally experiencing that. Ever since COVID has come about, people have been asking us how we can leverage the low-code platforms to continue to operate better, operational efficiency. So everything speaks to those metrics that you were alluding to in the previous slides. But before we go any further, I just wanted to let people know, while there is a certain demand, what is driving that, right? So what is the eventual business impact? Eventually, there must be a net positive impact on the business itself. But before we get into understanding how does that positively impact, we need to understand what are some of the core components of low-code platform. What does it actually mean, right? So from that perspective, what it really means is the ability to provide a very visual modeling tool so that the learning curve is fairly flat. It is much more easy and friendly for business users to come in and being able to adapt to things. A good example of that was just last week, we were speaking to a medical compounding company, and they have strict IT resources, like very stringent IT resources, and they are talking about vendor management because a lot of those medical, compounding is coming from various vendors, and now they're not only looking at taking care of the customer experience, but also vendor management. And they want the business to handle that. So providing them those visual tools, drag and drop functionality, the ability to build applications, modify those pages using drag and drop function interfaces, the ability to repurpose, reuse one applications in another area is also extremely important, right? So less development work, less cost, and also these organizations don't work in isolations. when you think about, say, a sales department, oftentimes they're working with financing department for financing sales operations, or they're working with legal from a contracting perspective. So these are all the interdepartmental organizations as well. So they should also work from cross-departmental, cross-platform. They should work on mobile devices, iPad, you name it. At the same time, they also have to be secure, right? And one of the key things that people often hear is low-code is probably grouped into a very smaller department. While that's usually the genesis, but they can also be rapidly scalable across the multiple departments across many, many other areas. And finally, reporting is table stakes, right? Everything is great, but are you able to monitor those things? Because we're talking about operational efficiencies, right? And finally, governance is equally important. So application lifecycle, ability to manage that from a governance perspective is also equally important. Now that we have understood the core components of LowCode, what can you potentially create? What kind of applications and areas that you can possibly do, right? So what we are talking about here is oftentimes customer-facing or customer engagement applications. For us, at least in Creatio side, we are mostly focused on the customer relationship side of the house. So whether that be customer-facing applications like customer onboarding, collecting necessary documentation as soon as they convert from a prospect to a customer, or giving them portal access, having them become more self-sufficient, all in the hopes of increasing Net Promoter Score. But inside also, there are multiple departments, as I suggested previously, that works on those areas, right? So we're talking about business processes, getting rid of manual intervention, automating of those business processes, operational efficiencies. And there's a lot of data that is being done. And what kind of data can we take advantage of? So using machine learning algorithm, we can start taking advantage of the AI technology and start making better applications and giving better data to our customers as well. Now, when you look at the organization, on the right-hand side, you're seeing various business units, whether that be marketing, sales, human capital, finance, legal, and so on and so forth. But each of them have their own task that is intra-departmental, and there is also interdepartmental. So the ability to take, for example, project management that has a direct impact with sales, that has direct impact with R&D, that has direct impact with operations teams, or document management, which impacts training, which impacts sales, which impacts marketing. There are many, many areas in which where you can use low-code to start building applications that span across interdepartmental areas as well. And then finally, what does this actually mean? Like, what is the eventual business impact from low-code applications? Eventually, somebody has to sign off the check. There needs to be a validation from data, right? So some of the key things that come about from this is the operational agility. So nobody understands the business like the business team. Nobody understands customer service like the customer service team. Same thing from marketing, same thing from operations, same thing for the finance. If we give them enough tools to build an applications that they believe are in the best interest of their customers, the agility of that organization goes up tremendously. That has a direct impact on the customer experience as well. When the customers are happy, they're going to do repeat business with you. That has a direct impact on the Net Promoter Score. That has impact on the customer satisfaction score. So since you're not waiting on IT to take on those projects, smaller projects, the transformation from a digital aspect goes on much, much faster. Everybody is happy, the productivity goes through the roof. And since these are all not traditional developers and you don't have to pay them a lot of money to work on smaller projects, that also cuts down a number of costs. And that, again, when you cut costs, profitability of the organization also goes up. So all of this has a net positive impact by going to the local platforms. And with that, I'm going to let you take control back, Eric.
Thanks, Nandish. Yeah, I mean, these are some great points that you had put out. What we're hoping to demonstrate with this customer case is, a real life example of, one of our customers that have leveraged the capabilities of a low-code platform to help the way that they engage with their customers. So if we look at the next slide, this organization, it's a very large organization. They support over 100,000 customers, and these customers fall within different market types. So there are large organizations to all the way down to small organizations, private organizations, providing the highest level of personalized experience to their customers. They have 3 geographically dispersed manufacturing and distribution facilities, and they support their customers through both online and offline channels. So the challenge, this posed to that organization is that, and it's not only this organization, but any organization that's, dispersed and supports different customer types. There are many legacy systems. We're housing data in different locations. We're creating data silos across the organization, and it's really difficult. Those better informed decisions about operations and support for their customers. In addition, because they have such a high level of personalization that they offer to their customers, their processes and workflows need to be updated constantly, which was really impossible to manage through their legacy systems effectively. So some of the key things that they were looking to change is they needed end-to-end process orchestration across multiple departments. So everything from how they market to their customer base, how they sell and support. They needed ease of configuration because, as I had mentioned, those processes change very quickly. System scalability is another huge thing that was a problem for them. They continue to grow. They're one of the largest providers in their space across the industry. So they're always growing. And they wanted to work with their IT group to make changes very rapidly. So if they don't outpace their competitors in this space, they fall behind. So they really wanted to accomplish this with a tool that was going to be easy to use and easy to integrate with their different solutions, but then bring all of that together so that they could make better formed decisions. So when we looked at it from a solution standpoint, we looked at Creatio's LowCode platform to provide them with a single source of data and also powerful tools to build new solutions for more than 10 of their internal teams. This really allowed this customer to easily manage their online orders as well as streamline their shipping and product return processes, which really helped them optimize the customer experience and also led to more loyalty. So the reason behind that personalized experience is that they want repeat customers. They want these customers to be lifetime customers, and they were able to do that utilizing low-code technology to adapt and promote the next best offer or next best action to that particular customer. So when we looked at it from the perspective of what we were able to achieve with the low-code platform, by automating their sales and marketing processes, the company was able to provide additional personalized services and offerings to over 100,000 customers. And by doing this, after implementation, they saw a 10% increase in sales. In addition to that, they also saw some increases in the way that they support their customers. They were able to automate and streamline their support processes, decreasing their service request processing time by 45%. And it really eliminated their operational silos. So as they needed to integrate with shipping companies like FedEx or integrating with their phone systems, it made it very simple to make these low-code integrations throughout their entire organization and pull everything into a single platform that enabled them to see almost immediate results. The company also was able to iterate on this platform. They ran in sprints. They identified the key areas where they would have the most impact, and they were able to get applications up and running in weeks, not months or years. So they saw an immediate return on their investment in low-code technology. So, this is just a kind of a great example of a large organization with, diverse teams, dispersed data silos, and they were able to accomplish what they needed to do very quickly utilizing low-code technology. So again, the chat is open, guys. If you have any stories you want to share about that, or any questions on, what you can achieve with low code, please, drop that in the chat. We'll be glad to answer any of those questions. So I wanted to provide a little context before we move into the demonstration portion. So Creatio is definitely a low-code platform for process management and CRM. But as I had mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, our goal is to enable everyone, not just developers or coders, but anyone to automate business ideas in minutes. And to Nandish's point, we want to put the business applications in the hands of business people. Nobody knows that better than them. So that's our goal. And if we look at, the Creatio differentiators, it really is our unique platform in combination with best-in-class automation and CRM capabilities that really enable our customers to create, right? Hence the name Creatio, create competitive differentiators that are launched in days, not weeks or months. And this really allows them to stay ahead of the competition, allows them, as in our customer case here, to provide best-in-class customer experiences, and it also takes complexity out of their operations. And here is just a quick snapshot of our unique product offering and architecture. And as you can see at the foundation, this really is our low-code studio platform. This is where not only developers and coders can create business applications and automated processes, but where we enable the citizen development with low-code tools. On top of that foundation, we built, with those same low-code tools, best-in-class applications for sales, marketing, and service automation. And that fourth box that you're seeing there is our Creatio Marketplace, where we have over 800 pre-built connectors, applications, and templates that can help extend the core functionality of Creatio into other aspects of the business. And if we look at it from a value perspective, we look at time to value and being able to meet unique customer requirements. Traditional CRMs, they have a lot of out-of-the-box processes. They can be ramped up pretty quickly, and you can help recognize a faster time to value. If we look at traditional BPM and low code, we can meet those unique customer requirements, but it's going to take some time to develop. The third box you're seeing is custom development, and we know utilizing traditional methods can be cumbersome. We talked about IT's ability to keep up with business demands. We see project backlogs growing, and you'll be able to create and meet the customer requirements, but it's going to be a very low time to value. So that's really where Creatio in the fourth box here ticks both boxes, right? Because of low code, we're able to implement and integrate and launch quicker than traditional methods, and also be able to customize to meet specific business requirements. So that's really how we feel we're differentiated from our competitors in this space. And the idea behind Creatio is to provide two things, right? One, it's a low-code platform for our customers to develop their own applications, but also delivering business applications. So that's our ready-to-use components, as I had mentioned, the marketplace connectors and add-ons, as well as our CRM modules. And it's not, it's not just Eric and Nandish saying this, but leading analysts have also recognized our low-code and process automation capabilities as the key drivers to success of our company. And the strength of the platform and the foresight of that vision, right? We built this way from the ground up, has enabled us to reach 2 Gartner Magic Quadrant leader categories, And you can see well, maybe you can't see, it's kind of an eye chart there, but we're competing with titans in this industry. The Salesforce, Microsoft, Oracle. We're in leader categories with some of the largest organizations in the world. Very similarly, we're recognized in virtually every category of CRM and process automation on Forrester Waves. We've also received several market awards, and we consistently score, and this is the most important metric to me, is that we consistently score very high on user reviews. So Gartner Peer Insights, Capterra, G2 Crowd, our users are very happy with the platform. So that makes all the difference in the world to me, that people are getting value off of the platform. And finally, right before I turn it over to Nandish to kind of demo this to you, this is a little more about our studio, our low-code capabilities. So we have 2 versions of it, including a freemium version where you can model processes, collaborate on processes, document processes, and utilize it to create that. And then on the other side, we have our Studio Enterprise, where we can then implement and make those processes actionable within the platform. So really great tools to help automate processes, build applications. And I think talking about it is one thing, but seeing it is a different thing. So Nandish, without further ado, I will turn it over to you for a quick demonstration of these tools.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. I hope I do justice to your tremendous presentation, by the way.
I'm sure you will.
Wonderful. It's always heartening to see that it's not just us tooting our own horn, but it's important that we get recognized by industry experts. So I'm going to walk through a high-level 3-4 minutes worth of a presentation of Creatio. So one of the key things that you heard us talk about previously is the fact that it is interdepartmental. It goes across the organization, right? So from a Creatio perspective, whether you are looking at it from a financing department, right, for budgets and hiring, whether you're looking at it from a customer care center perspective, whether you're looking from a human resources perspective, from human capital management, or from applicant tracking system, or the ability to manage your marketing or sales or whatever that may be. As you select different workspaces, what we allow you to do is to create or give you objects that are relevant to that area and that area only. So if you go to the contact center, everything related to case management comes in here. If you go into marketing, everything related to marketing comes in here. Everything related to sales comes in here, and so on, so forth. So therefore, it's a single application, similar view, but it basically able to scale across the various organizations. But where the magic really happens is in the Studio platform, where you can build unlimited number of process libraries, and those process libraries can impact different departments' case, leads, opportunities, so on and so forth. You have the ability to not only run those processes, but also actually measure how they are performing, right? You'll be able to understand from an execution diagram. You'll be able to stop those processes if something is going wrong, and also have the ability to connect with many other external applications, because none of these applications live in isolation. You need data from an upstream application or send the data to a downstream application. And I also talked about previously regarding the machine learning algorithm. So these are some of the machine learning algorithms that comes pre-packaged with Creatio that you can take advantage of and then use that in your organization as much as you want. Some of the key areas that we use are product recommendations from cross-sell, upsell ability that is visible immediately to the customer service agent or to the sales agent as they're working on trying to sell or expand their business. Now, where I want to spend some time today is in the human resources element. So out of all of those workspaces, I'm looking at human resources, right? So we're looking at a workflow. We talked about building an applications, but also the workflow, right? And those workflows will take an application all the way from beginning to the end, right? So basically, the process ideally begins with budget submissions to the financing team, and as the budgets are approved, you'll then start hiring candidates against that budget. And there's a workflow for that with various tasks that is going into different departments, sometimes to the recruiter, sometimes to the manager, sometimes to the legal for background checks, and so on and so forth. So the way this is constructed is using the page designer. So we live and breathe low code. What I mean by that is if you want to make modifications rapidly to that to this page, you don't have to bring in an IT resource. So everything related to name, hiring manager, and candidate and office is also visible in here. So name, hiring manager, candidate, and office, right? And if you want to make changes to that, so for example, if you want to add when this was created on, simply drag and drop that, and this will add that basic data that is already in the system into that particular page. On the other hand, if you want to add a new chart or if you want to add a new data, whatever that data type may be, if it is a date or a time basis, you simply drag and drop that and it will give you the ability to add that new data immediately. As you can see, there is no reason to learn any programming language. You don't need to know C# or JavaScript or anything like that. So we live and breathe low code. The next part is a dynamic case management. This talks about the unstructured business process where you can build these kinds of complex workflows. This is very helpful in situations where you want to go ahead and move things over very rapidly and measure how fast the business process works. But when the process gets very complex, for example, in the offer letter, there are situations that needs to go through endless loops before you get a yes or a no from the candidate. In such a case, you go into the Studio platform, use drag and drop functionality, whether if you want to take advantage of web service, like we push information to a HCM system, or if you want to modify something, you want to delete something, or if you want to predict a machine learning, what's the likelihood of this candidate actually taking the offer if you made that. So those kinds of applications are very easy to build it. And finally, from the dashboard perspective, if you recall, we had mentioned that reporting is extremely important. So reporting is also part of it. Again, as long as you know how to create a dashboard in Excel, you also have the ability to create various kinds of series, have data that you can take advantages to measure, understand how impactful this business process has been. So with that, I think we're almost at the end of the time. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and bring it right back to you, Eric.
All right. Thank you, Nandish. Great walkthrough. And, I hope that was having that visual of low code in action, helps you understand how that can bring business value in digital transformation efforts. So I think that we might have some questions in chat here. I'm looking forward to these questions. So why don't we open it up?
All right, let's kick off. Sorry, you can hear me, right?
I can now. Yes.
Yes.
All right, good. Sorry about that. Let's kick off with a few of these questions then. As per all of our webinars, if you do have any questions, submit them into the Q&A box now, and we will take them to the speakers. All right, I'm going to kick off with one of the questions that came through earlier. How can low-code help decrease the workload of employees and improve their productivity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. And, we see a lot of customers recognizing that value, almost immediately. So if we think about low code and what you can, create, it can automate a lot of manual or repetitive tasks that employees might have to complete. It can also help, implement, any policies or things that we have for our employees very quickly as well. I'll give a quick example. We have a construction customer here in Boston, Massachusetts that, when COVID hit, everything shut down. We couldn't get employees back to work. So as, some of those restrictions lifted, this construction company who had, 500 construction workers that they needed to get back out there. But those construction workers had to, verify that they haven't had any symptoms, they haven't had any, contact with anybody. And it was a very manual process. And, it really delayed them getting back to work. So they leveraged low code to build a mobile application that before each employee checks into the site, they're able to just click a few buttons, answer a few questions, and get back to work. And then from there, that tied back into their analytics. So if there were any issues, they could do contact tracing. So really, it enables organizations to streamline some of those manual and repetitive tasks that employees have to do. So that can lighten that workload. That's just one example I gave, but you just think about if you were able to eliminate some of the manual processes that you have in your day-to-day life. That's really where low-code can come in and help alleviate that.
Right. In addition, Eric, there are many areas that you can also use automation, right? So low code, we can also, as part of the automation parts, a good example is, let's say, as the mortgage rates goes down, then low code using the business process that we talked about towards the end of my demo is basically listening to those signals. Like, is it as the mortgage rates gone down by, let's say, a 0.5%? As soon as that is done, it will quickly scan through your existing contact database, for example, and then send out mortgage offer letters to your potential customers to potentially increase those leads. In the past, you had to have a manual intervention to go back and get a list of those customer databases, understand what kind of rates do they have, measure that using Excel spreadsheet, and then send those letters one at a time. So those kinds of quick automations can be done very quickly in the low-code platform.
Great point.
Amazing. Yeah, really good examples as well. All right. Got a question here from Victor earlier as well. So he's firstly mentioned thank you for a structured presentation, which I completely agree with. Can you share some details about the business case that you presented earlier? How many people inside the company were involved in the business design? And how much time did it take to perform customer onboarding? And how the development governance procedure had been arranged? So three-part question there.
Yeah, great question. I'll do my best to answer. So as I had mentioned, this is a very large organization, cross-departmental initiative within that particular business case. So the team to kind of streamline all of that together was pretty large. I wouldn't even say pretty large, but I think we had between 12 and 15 people designing those processes throughout the organization to make sure that it was all interconnected. And as I had mentioned, they took a kind of an agile approach to the onboarding. They ran in sprints, so they identified which areas will have the most impact across the organization, identified those specific solutions, and then iterated as they went along. So customer onboarding in terms of how we were able to bring them on, was in sprints. So, sprints usually were taking between 2 to 3 weeks in between. So the first sprint was launched within 3.5 months, so just under 4 months. And then every 2 weeks, additional sprints throughout the onboarding. So hopefully that answers. I knew it was 3.
Yeah, there was the governance perspective, right? So, typically low-code should still go through the regular development cycle. What that means is you should be working on a testing environment to make sure that, there's a development environment where you actually develop your applications and then invite people to come in and do the user acceptance testing and all kinds of testing before you take that, export that as a package, and then deploy it into production, right? So those things cannot be eliminated because those are governance, especially on enterprise side. You cannot compromise on those things. But what we're talking about is the rapid deployment, rapid development, and then the ability to have the business users build those applications, test it out. That's where we're going to see a significant decrease in time to deploy it into production.
All right, thank you for picking that one up. Next question here is from Ryan Wen. So in what circumstance is low-code more applicable than RPA or BPM?
Great question. So I would look at RPA as a way to kind of implement smaller processes, right? They're not necessarily geared to an entire business process. Business processes tend to be more complex. They're bringing in data from multiple sources. There's going to be multiple people involved in that process, and low code development within that makes that business process easier. So RPA is really more geared towards kind of a smaller process. I'll give an example, like being able to answer typical questions online through a bot, right? Or maybe having the ability to streamline a simple process. BPM tends to be more in-depth process, again involving multiple sources of data, multiple interaction points. So that makes it more appropriate there. And low-code, in combination with that, makes it easier to design those processes very simply. Being able to just drag, drop, interconnect, and then implement and integrate those data sources into that process makes it even easier. So I hope that kind of answers your question, Nandish. I don't know if you had anything else.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with you, Eric, because not everything can be automated. If it did, then nobody would need people. Like the bot would pretty much do everything. So you're right. It works in a certain scenarios, but when you're talking about larger organizations, let's say a sales orders, a fulfillment of an order fulfillment, right? From a telecom perspective, there is a process there. The salesperson has to do a proposal. From the proposal has to go into to the management, then it goes into contracts, and the contracts are very complex. There are certain elements of it that can be where RPA can come in, maybe through the OCR technology. They will be able to pull information, push it into Excel, create some dashboards. Those kinds of things can happen. So RPA has definitely advantage over there. But from a big holistic view to understand that, hey, this is what the salesperson has to do, step 1, then step 2, step 3, step 4. And it has to be forked into different departments. All of that has to be grouped together. Everybody has to do. There'll be a little bit of manual intervention. There will be automatic email notifications. Those things are done in low-code solutions. So low-code, think about it from a holistic way to make sure that it adheres to all of those industries, organization standards that you have done. RPA is more into areas where you can potentially automate without having manual intervention. That's where RPA shines.
Mm-hmm.
I hope there's a distinction there.
Yeah, and I think that's a good combination of both is a good strategy to have, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's something that most organizations need to leverage both sides of that coin.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so how would you then identify opportunities to implement low-code technology?
Great question. So, we look at low code in the sense of, we see low code as a fit for very process intense, organizations, right? Low code, can help alleviate, some of those processes and interconnect them. So when we look at opportunities for low code, we look at where, there might be, intense processes where, we may want to automate some of that. We also want to interconnect, so in our example, you looked at, having these siloed datas, like, so if data sources. So if you notice that within your organization where, we're not able to interconnect, data and build a holistic view of whether that's how we're supporting customers or how we're running our operations. Low code is a great way to kind of develop and automate, some of that process, taking the complexity out of that and simplifying it into, a single view and a single process. So, and having the ability to adapt those processes. So again, not only if it's a complex process, but if that process is changing rapidly, you need technology that's going to enable you to keep up with those changes. Traditional development methods can be cumbersome, right? If we look at things that are in a proprietary language, you need special skills to make that happen. How many of those people with special skills do you employ, and how many projects are in that backlog? So if we see that, projects are taking a long time to develop and roll out, this is a good opportunity to implement, low-code technologies that would help alleviate, that change process, and also, help to automate some of those complexities that might be in there.
Exactly. I mean, again, I should always go with opportunities that has a direct business impact, right? Otherwise, why would you want to spend time on low-code technology? A good example would be, say, in a manufacturing company, as a sales reps come into this, they're trying to input a new order for a customer. A couple of things can happen. Maybe the customer has been put on a credit hold by the financing department. So you're not supposed to be actually provisioning any new orders for them, but the salesperson has no clue, right? So this is where a low-code technology, because who knows that kind of information? It is the financing department and it's a sales team, right? You should be able to bring that intersection together to make sure that you're preventing the salesperson to even stop them from creating an order. Otherwise, you're just wasting everybody's time. Second of all, understanding from an ERP perspective, the thing that you're trying to sell to the customer, is that even in the stock? Is it going to take 6 months to manufacture that part? Is it backlog? Those kinds of information also can be brought in very quickly. And again, who knows that information? It's the operations team. It is the sales team. So if you bring those intersection using processes to say that, hey, salesperson, as you're trying to input these kinds of orders, check this, step one, check this, step two, check this. It will go ping that information, bring that information back to the salesperson. Now you're preventing that salesperson from even inputting the order. That's where the efficiency gain comes in. That is where you're causing unnecessary issues, right? And again, these are all have direct impact on the business itself. So those are the key areas I would go with implementing low-code technology.
All right, thank you for sharing that. Before we go, just really quickly, any final words?
Yeah, I really want to thank everybody for joining today. I think that when we look at low-code platforms and capabilities, we see this as the future of how all applications are going to be developed in one form or another. It's not to replace traditional development methods, but it's a way to help alleviate some of that strain, right? And put the ownership of that technology back in the hands of business. So, I really look forward to what low-code is going to bring, both in the near and long term.
Thank you both for joining us, and thank you for the audience for joining us today at this low-code focus day. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.